Okay. So you got everything that you need for your straight edge and all that? You got a pencil?
No, I don't have a pencil.
You don't have a pencil? There's one right
I've
there.
got a pencil. Okay.
Okay. Might have another one in here too, I'm not sure. Always got that one. There's an eraser if you need
But
it.
I really don't need a pencil.
Yeah, you're not really going to be drawing lines, are you?
No.
Do you need a square?
Nah.
I think there's one in that drawer if you need one. Yeah, right there.
Right there.
Okay.
All right, we can go on now and tell them, good morning. We're going to wait for a few people to come on and then
Yeah.
we'll start.
That's fine.
Yeah.
All right. 3, 2, 1.
Good morning.
It started with a cough. No, I got a tickle. Good morning. It is, this is Memorial Day weekend, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, this is like a long weekend for most people. So happy Saturday morning, Memorial Day weekend, everyone. We should be going live. We've got both cameras set up. So nobody's asked me this yet, but we will have this posted on YouTube within the next day or two. It just takes a while to post a video this long. So hope everybody's having a great Saturday morning. Beautiful out here.
This is our LTS for May.
Yes,
Yes.
May live training session for those of you that are new to the concept.
So we're going to have some different stuff. We're going to have some new stuff. I'm going to introduce some stuff. So as we get into it, you'll see a little stuff that you haven't seen before.
All right. How's the sound? Can everybody hear hear the guys okay?
I can hear us.
I can hear fine.
I can hear fine. So the basic format of this LTS, for those of you that this might be your first one, is Dad's going to do a little demo, show something, then I'm going to come on, do a little demo and show something, both at about 20 minutes apiece, 10, 15, 20 minutes apiece.
A few minutes.
And then the end will be Q&A. So if you guys have any questions, we'd be happy to answer those.
Sound is good.
Huh?
Everybody says sound is good.
Sound is good.
And we're
Excellent.
doing two cameras. We're doing one camera live and the other camera. So you'll see once in a while, you'll see our eyeballs switch from one camera to the other. And that's because we're filming, we're posting on YouTube, plus we're doing live on the camera that Vicky's running them both. So if you see us shifty-eyed, it's not because we're shifty. It's just because we're looking in both cameras.
Okay. So we've got people chiming in. Excellent. Thank you for joining us, guys. Hope this is worth your time on Saturday morning. We always try and bring you guys something a little bit different, and today is going to be like way different. So
Diana says hello from Diana and Brad.
Diana,
Aussie Brad.
Diana,
Aussie
we'll call
Diana
her.
and
Yeah.
Aussie Brad.
I think Brad's back at work now. I'm not sure, but yeah, I don't know. Okay, so I guess if you want to, I'll get out of the way. If you want to do your demo, get started on that.
Yeah, well, you go ahead and talk, and I'll bring my stuff in on the
Oh,
table.
okay.
Go ahead
Yeah.
and explain a little bit about what we're doing, and I'll bring my stuff on the table. Go
Okay.
ahead.
All right. That sounds good. So, what we're going to do, what Dad's demo is all about, is we've had requests and actually questions and comments over the years that making wood signs, it takes, got to have a router, a sander, and all kinds of equipment. And generally speaking, on our routed wood signs, that's correct. You pretty much have to have those. So our channel has always been kind of based around woodworkers or people that want to make these routed wood signs like these up here. And you have to, you've got to have a certain amount of equipment and stuff. Well, I remember back years and years ago, Dad made wood signs. For a period of time, he went out to the flea markets in Northern California, and he was making wood signs, but he had no equipment with him at all. He made what we call overlay signs. What? Yeah, he made what we call, sorry, is it camera? Looks like it's kind of... pointing goofy. Can it see me okay?
Okay.
Okay. So he made what we call overlay signs, and we've done that periodically. I've made big commercial signs of overlay signs, which I would take components and put them together on boards and make overlay signs. And I don't know, I probably haven't showed very many of those, but that's a little bit different than our routed wood signs. So what Dad's going to go into, which he's set up for here, is showing you what we call overlay signs and how you could do this. Well, I'll let him kind of get into it because he's
And overlay signs are nothing but, thing about overlay signs, since you don't have to prepare the wood, you can just go out and find an old pallet, knock it apart. You go down to the lumber yard and buy boards. You don't have to cut them; they'll cut them for you. So you can just go down and the thing about making overlay signs is they don't necessarily have to be signed. I'm going to start off with something that is used for an overlay pattern, and this is just, you can take something like this box and say, well, here, let's take this is a Route 66 pattern. You can just take this box and glue that right on there, and you've got an overlay. So it doesn't necessarily have to be a sign. It can be just an overlay decoration. So I just wanted to point that out. It doesn't have to be a sign. So, but when I make a sign, I don't know, can you see this on camera? This is where I just take a hot glue gun and I take the letters. In these particular letters I spray black, but they could be red or blue or green. And this is just a piece of 2x2 that's completely rough. I just took it, of course I bought it in an 8-foot piece, but I just cut a foot piece. You can have it cut when you buy it if you want to.
There you go. You're right on that little hole, and it's kind
And
of.
so this is just it's a real simple sign, and literally a sign like this you can get $15 or $20 for it. You got you got maybe $3 or $4 in there. You can always, on overlay signs, you can always figure on at least doubling your money, and it takes almost no time to do. It's just a matter of getting some kind of a junk board, or buy what you want, and or like that other thing I made, and just glue it up, just a hot glue gun. And here's what I use. I'm gonna do I'll just do a little bit. I use something to put on my bench just to keep the hot glue from dripping on it. And what I do, well, here's a little one here that I'm going to do. And there really isn't any secret to this. You can use something to get it, to keep a straight edge. I've got a straight edge over here. So once you get this about where you want it, I'm doing this upside down just so you can see it. But you keep your spacing on the end, that's a little off. So keep your spacing on the ends about the same and get everything centered like I'm doing here. I love doing this stuff.
Oh, you're good at it.
So all this is just it's just a little welcome sign. It could be hanging outside of a door. It could be, it could be glued on a door. But I just take my little glue gun. After I get the letters about where I want them, I'm not going to do a big dollop on there. I'm just going to use just a small amount. Now you don't have to use hot glue. If you don't want to use hot glue, you could use regular Elmer's glue. And just once you get it done, you just leave it set. This is a little fast, and I'm doing it upside down, but it gives you an idea. And the thing about overlay signs is a lot of times the letters don't need to be perfectly straight and perfectly square. If you're making something rustic, you want it to be rustic, so you put the letters on there at a slight angle. And when you're doing something like this, it doesn't really matter so much like it does if you're routing it. This is really all there is to it. Now, there you have a little sign. It's all done. Have no equipment other than a glue gun. And of course, if you want to spray the letters, you can use paint. It's some cheap $1.50 can paint. You don't have to worry about ink or the bleeding into the board like you do if you're routing signs. So stuff like this, you can use any kind of cheap. You can even use a little Sharpie if you wanted to. If you wanted to had this heart and you wanted it red, you didn't want to spray it, you could do it with a Sharpie. It would be, and you could do the same thing on the letters. And even after it's done, if you want to highlight it, you can highlight it with a Sharpie. That's the nice thing about doing overlay letters. You can do them just about any way you want to, and there's a nice little sign. And you get 10 or 12 bucks for a sign like that. And it takes very, very little time to make it. And the letters that we use, of course, are the letters that we make. These are the same letters that basically would be layout letters if you were routing signs. But since we use them as overlay signs, basically they're the same thing. You can go to Walmart, you can go to Hobby Lobby, any of the Michaels, you go to any of the craft stores and buy letters of all different sizes. We make them from 1/2 inch, which you don't see very often, but we make 1/2 inch letters up to 6 or 8 inches. And it's just something that we do, but you don't necessarily need to buy stuff from us, but if you can't find what you want, for a lot of times if you want to use something like this as an overlay on something, since this is stuff that we designed, we have it available, and we have it available for overlay or for layout patterns for your routed signs, as most of you know. Most of you, it's been with us for a while. So if you're buying the letters at Hobby Lobby, but you want some kind of
That doesn't show.
kind of a design like we have on our stuff, we have them available for you. But the main thing I'm doing here is I'm just teaching you. I'm going to turn this one around. Dolly Parton happens to be a favorite person of mine, so I made this one up for you, and I'm fairly sure you can understand the double hearts symbolized there. But see, that's really all there is to it. You put it on there like that, then you can take the straight edge, put it on like this, so you've got the letters all laid out straight, and then just like I did on this welcome sign, you can bring it up. Of course, I turn it around. You can bring it up, take a hot glue gun, and glue all that stuff up, and then, just 3 or 4 or 5 minutes, you got a pretty nice looking sign that you can give as a gift, a personalized gift to somebody, or you can make it as a custom item and sell it. So when I was making these 35, 40 years ago, before we really got heavy into the routed signs, when I was making these, I used to sell a lot of them. I used to go out to the flea market, and when I'd go to a flea market where I didn't have access to power, this is the kind of signs that I would make. And they weren't quite as popular as my routed signs. My routed signs were a little more popular. That's probably over the years I decided to kind of specialize with routed signs, and that's all. Most of you, that's all that you've ever seen from us is the routed signs that we do. But these overlay signs, if you don't have access to equipment, if you've got an apartment with a little bit of room in a back bedroom, you can set up a craft table because this is kind of a craft item, but it just gives you an idea. If you like the idea of making a wood sign, which is what we do, that's our website is makeawoodsign.com, and it's all about making a wood sign. Well, these aren't routed signs, but hey, these are wood signs. So if you want to make a wood sign and you want to do it quick and easy, and the thing about it, just like laying it out, you get the letters laid where you want them before you ever start, so that you know it's the way you want it, and you don't have to worry about your router gouging a letter. You don't have to worry about doing it right. Now on these letters here, I'll point out, what I did is I sprayed these red.
Hold them up.
And then after I sprayed them red, I took yellow.
Hold them up.
What
Hold,
then?
hold one of them up so we can see
Hold
it.
one of them up. I'll tip them up this way,
There you go.
and then here's the letter. And what I did is I sprayed these red, and then after they dried, I took yellow and just started the spray and just went across the top, so it sort of looks like flame. That's just something that I did years ago on a sign that I did for a guy that had a blazer, and I made red and yellow letters for his blazer. So this is just gives you some idea of what you can do if you want to put those down and spray them with a rainbow color. You can have them 3 or 4 or 5 colors all striped. But the thing about overlay signs is you don't need any equipment other than a hot glue gun, and that just takes a little electrical power. You could run that off of a solar panel. But it just gives you another option for making wood signs that just gives you an idea of what you can do, so that you don't need equipment. All you need is the letters and some old piece of scrap board or a box or a decoration of some kind. It could be a picture and you want to put tiny wood letters, or it could be a plaque and you want to put tiny wood letters on it to make a plaque for somebody. So there's just all kinds of things that you can do with overlay letters that you can't, some of the stuff that you can't even route, but you can put overlay letters on it and make a really, really nice personalized item for somebody. And it's just another way to add to your expertise on making wood signs.
Well, and it gives it a thing that it does also that I thought is it gives it a 3-dimensional look, whereas most of the time the routed signs has more of a 2-dimensional
Right,
look.
exactly.
So it gives it a kind of a shadow box 3-dimensional look. So
Right.
I think that's kind of cool too.
Yeah, you can use, and there's nothing to say that you can't use 2 of these and put one on top of another. As far as the patterns are concerned, you could use that and make it 3-dimensional. I have a couple of different things. Well, Eric's going to show you some other stuff too. Some of the stuff that routed signs and an applique as well. So this is, but this is what I wanted to show you. This is all new stuff that we haven't shown before. Thought it would be of interest to you for a live training session, and it looks like it's been about. I guess I've been doing this for 10 or 15 minutes. I'm an old guy. I get tired quick. So that's about it, son. Did you have anything you want to add?
No, I'll take it from there and go into my little demo, showing what I'm going to do, and fire up the router and make some sawdust, and you can kind of slide.
All right,
on
I'll clear this stuff off. I'll unplug the hot glue gun so you don't burn your toes.
Thank you.
And you go ahead with what you're going to do. And since we don't stop the camera, we just keep rolling. I'll move all of this stuff out of your way.
Thank you. So if we hadn't mentioned before, we're in our new studio and loving it. This is about twice the square footage of our old studio, but it feels like 3 times the amount of space. Really love it. So we've got some more work to do on it. Obviously, we're not completely squared away.
Oh, you guys both just went out of frame.
Sorry, I'm coming back. We're adjusting here. So, yeah, I've got everything I need.
All right, son. So I'll get out of here and leave it to you.
I'll take it from here.
I'll be back later on when we get your questions and answers. I'll be back later on.
Okay, so here's what I'm going to do, boys and girls. This is a sign I just carved this morning. I just kind of threw it on here, and I left room at both ends. And we have our new, let me see. I know, I'm out of focus. I know.
Oh, yeah.
Relax. So our new template of the month, and this has got ink on it. Obviously, I've already sprayed it as layout, is a little barbecue. So does that show up being black?
No. Can you bring the other one over?
Does it show up better that way?
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah. So it's just a little barbecue with flames in there. It's kind of a neat little design that Vicky found. And so I'm going to actually carve that on the end of the board right now. So I'm going to actually carve it going this direction. And grab my ink here. So I haven't sprayed. One thing I did want to kind of touch on actually is this is a piece of that cedar that you picked up. Dad picked up at Lowe's yesterday, the cedar fencing. You guys are kind of used to us using that for our smaller signs. But here's one thing I discovered on this. I was routing it, and it was like, I wasn't really crazy about the way it was routing. And you probably can't tell too much, but if you really look in here, it's kind of fuzzy in some spots, and it just felt like it wasn't as dry. And I at that point when I routed this morning, I hadn't measured the moisture content. So I went and got my moisture meter, and here's what I found out. This is a moisture meter, and this turns it on, and then when you put these prongs into your board, it tells you the moisture content. Many of you have a better version of this. This is just a cheap version. And I like my moisture in my board somewhere around 6 to 8% or less. So I figured I'd go check it and see what the moisture was on this sign. And actually, maybe I'll do it this way. So that's telling me it's around 10% there. But here's the deal. You go to different spots in the board, and that still says, I'm reading it upside down, that says 8. But check this out. I don't know. This is probably not going to work out. But, dadgummit. I'm going to do it this way, yeah. That's up to 16%. 14 to 16% on the ends. And the way this board is, you got a grain that's running right through the center of this board. It looks really cool, but what's happening is that grain is holding the moisture longer than the rest of the board. That's 16%. That's quite a bit more than what I like it. So on the edges, well, that's still 12%. You go here, that's 12, but on the other edge, it's at 6. So it's kind of interesting that different parts of the board can have different moisture contents. But anyway, that's the reason I had a little bit of issue with carving this morning. Not that it didn't carve, because it carved, but it just kind of fuzzes up. It is a little tougher to brush all the stuff out of the background. So many of you that have carved wet boards, you kind of know what I'm talking about. It's not terrible, but I would have rather had this set for another few days and get down to 6% or less on the whole entire part of the board. But anyway, just thought I'd kind of throw that in there since we had a couple minutes. All right, so I'm gonna spray this little layout template. Yeah, it looks somewhat about right. And that's the way it looks. So that'll be dry in just a minute or two. Then we'll carve it up. While that's sitting on the paper. Everybody still with us?
Yeah, seems to be.
Boring the heck out of people. All right, let's get that over there. All right. So I am going to use on this one, being as we have some really tight little detail in there, especially in the flames, I'm going to use the SC50. That's I could maybe use the profile, but
you're talking about router bits.
Router bits is the SC50. Thank you for for bringing that up, Dad. So I'm not sure if you guys can get in on that. This is the SC50 bit that we use. And it carves some pretty fine detail. Oh, I need my cheaters. But what I'm going to do here, and I've got, you guys know that I have the option to either carve all of the black away or carve away all of the wood. In this particular instance, I'm going to do a combination of both, and I'll show you what I mean about that. Get my cheaters. I can see those little tiny lines a little bit better. Move the hat. How we doing on time?
We're good.
I better get on this, huh? So, I've sprayed that. Brush go. I'm going to use my stick bristle brush. So again, this is a SC50, just a super fine little cutter. We'll cut some detail. And I don't think I've got it set correctly for the depth, so I'll adjust the depth. I'll probably go somewhere around 1/8 of an inch. Well, not even 1/8 of an inch. A little less than an inch probably. But it's always depending on the lines that you've got to carve. So, can you guys get in on that?
Yeah.
All right, we're going to go here.
Chance you can turn your router around?
What?
Any chance you can turn the router
I
around?
can, but then the cord will be in the way. Well, I thought it would.
Get better visibility on the,
All right.
on the bit.
I can do that.
No. Okay.
Yeah?
Cord right in the way.
Well, that's what I thought.
Oh, wait a minute. Let's come over here and let it through this.
Well, now you're not running the camera.
The camera sets the focus.
Let me have the cord. I got it. Is that working for you, Dave? Is that better, Dad?
Yeah, better visibility. You can see the router bit working.
Well, if you get up over the top a little bit better, that might help, but you're running the camera. That was really grainy down in that leg. You guys probably saw that. Really had to be careful on that. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go ahead and finish this up. And I'm going to leave those just the way they are. And I'll show you why. I got to take that little piece out right there. Little tool. So you saw I took some of that little pieces out of there with the actual router bit, but some of them I'm...
Tilt that up so we can get a little bit better view of what you did on it. Yeah, that's...
Now on this sign, just because of time constraints, I didn't put any edge on this, but I probably would go back and put either a rustic edge or a chamfer all the way around it. But I'm going to go ahead and spray that now. But what I've got to do is I've got to do a little bit of masking. So I'm going to take my scissors because I want those flames to be red. And I want the rest of it to be black. So I'm just going to take, and this is kind of how I'm going to do this. And I'm just going to... Oh, you probably can't see, my bad. So I'm just going to mask off because I want the edge of that barbecue there to be black, and I want my flames to be red. So I'm just going to mask that off, and that should work out just about right. Again, I probably would take a little bit more time if I had it, but I'm just going to... Caught it. So all of this is going to be black. Again, nice light touch with that spray can. Don't spray too heavy, people. Even though this is cedar, you don't want to spray that too heavy. Actually, I'm going to go ahead and spray some of this. I'm not going to do the whole thing, but you guys will get the idea. So just imagine I'm spraying this whole thing. But being as we're going to be running short on time, I want to leave plenty of time for questions and answers. So I'm going to pull that off of there, and then it's starting to get a little warm in here, isn't it?
Yeah.
All right, I'm going to run this and dry that off real quick. Now we're going to mask off the black so we can spray the red. Just want to make sure we don't get any red and overspray in our black if we can help that. Where's my red? That's it. Nice and quick. Okay, getting close. It should be just dry in just a minute here. Move stuff out of the way. Awkward silence.
Well, we had a question. Oh, there was a question for you, Dave. Somebody wanted to know if you hot glue those letters on and put it outside, will the letters still stay on outside on the sign?
Well, it depends how hot it gets outside. I have had hot glued letters fall off of a sign. Generally, I use hot glue, and I should have pointed that out. I use a little dollop of liquid nails for the main glue, and then I just use just a spot of hot glue to hold the letter in place until the liquid nails cures. And once you put it up with liquid nails, it ain't gonna fall off. So it's just a combination.
Really good question, though.
Yeah, it is a good question.
Excellent
it's a good question. And liquid, hot glue has a tendency to fail when the temperature gets hot. If you ever reposition something, but if you use just a tiny dab of liquid nails, liquid nails, and then use hot glue just to hold the letter in place, 24 hours of liquid nails is cured and it don't come off.
And if it's an interior sign, you probably never have to worry about it. Hot glue would probably be just fine.
Yeah, but if it goes outside, it'd be a good idea to reinforce it with liquid nails.
All right, I've got a couple people saying it's going fuzzy, but it's perfect on our end, so I'm not sure what's going on. Must be internet.
Remember, we'll have the whole video on YouTube, so if you're missing something there.
Yeah, ours is perfect, so.
All right, I'm going to sand.
All right.
Here we
sand.
go.
This is my favorite part, the reveal.
Where's my other sander? Oh, there's my sander. So that first sand was like a 50 grit. Now I'm using an 80 just to finish sand.
There's all the difference in sound between that steel and that quarter cable.
Oh yeah. All right, now
Thank
we'll
you,
blow.
Diana.
Happy birthday, Diana.
Oh, happy
Today,
birthday,
I think
Diana.
today's Diana's birthday.
Diana in Australia. Happy birthday.
Now here's what I'm going to do, and I played around with it yesterday, and I liked the way it looked, so I'm going to do it again on this one. I think I'll stand up. This is where I'm going to use actually a Sharpie, and I could have made this regular background, but there are times where I'll use a Sharpie for the black, just on a surface. Ooh, I gotta be really careful on that line. Sorry, I know I'm messing you up there. Just don't want to hit the wrong line. And it looks more like well, I call it a Weber. I don't know. There's probably a lot of barbecues that are shaped like that now. But that gives it kind of a neat little look. Kind of different. I like it better with it all black on the lid.
Can you hold it up? baby?
Yeah, here's one I did yesterday, and it came out pretty much the same way, except I put a finish on it. This one I think came out a little bit better. Once you put a finish on it, it kind of brings those colors out a little bit more too.
Okay.
Now, here's the thing. What I'm going to do now is I left the other end open for a reason. So let's say we want to do the same kind of thing, but rather than have it carved, we just want to use an overlay. Well, check that out. I just took one of them and I colored the red there, and so this is all that color is done with a Sharpie. So then you have the option, or you can use a combination of them. what Dad was talking about earlier, as far as the overlay stuff go, I really like the idea of mixing routing and overlay stuff to give it that a little bit more of a three-dimensional look. So you could do stuff like that. Here's one that I did that Dad was showing earlier with the coffee cup and the heart. So you could do the coffee cup brown or black or whatever, and then the heart's in red. And it, let's say this said Joe's Cafe or something. It just gives you the availability to add more three-dimensional stuff to your routed signs. So where Dad was talking about, you could make signs completely overlay. You can also, I like the idea of mixing the two. For those of you that are already set up for routing signs, you can mix the two and do all different kinds of things. Here's one, one of our little layout templates. You know, you guys have seen this before. You could do it black. You could paint it camo if you want. The neat thing about these, you don't have to worry about not using paint because of the bleeding, because it really isn't an issue with this stuff. So you could put something like that on there. You know, we've got the little Route 66. You could paint that all up black and red or whatever.
Yeah, there you go.
So, so many different options that you really don't have to be that skilled in order to carve little tiny details, but you can still get little tiny details on there and have it a three-dimensional look. So I'm going to be doing more stuff like this, adding the overlay process to a routing process. And a lot of us, when we're starting out, letters aren't so bad, but it's getting the little tiny details and stuff like this that might be kind of tricky. This gives you a really good look and a simple way to do it until you get a little bit better hand with a router.
And when you get down to 1/2 inch or 3/4 inch letters, they're a little tricky to carve.
You know, even these letters here, those are probably, not quite 1 inch, but there's some pretty fine lines there. Be pretty easy to mess those up. And but you could certainly paint it and stick it on the board. Anyway, it's just a kind of a mixture of what Dad was talking about earlier and, you know, what I was showing as far as the routing. And I think it kind of opens up a lot of different options for things that you can do.
And those are just our layout templates.
These are just our regular layout templates. You know, that's how I laid the thing out. So we've got all different kinds, tons of different layout templates. And again, you can paint them and throw them on your board, and you got a really neat way to add artwork to your board. And all you'd have to do is carve the letters, or you can do the overlay letters. I'm gonna move this sanding
And
board
another thing too, they can go to craft stores like Joann's or Hobby Lobby, and they can pick up little appliques and put on their signs. They don't necessarily need to have the ones that we make, but they can pick up little appliques from a lot of different sources to put on their signs.
Yeah.
Let's do it.
Little rhinestones and little jewelry items. So there's all kinds of neat little things you can do as an applique, as an overlay.
All right, so you guys, if you've got any questions, I've gotten a couple, but not too many, so
bring on the questions.
Get
this stuff out of the way.
I'm going to come back in here and sit down.
Good.
Rest my knees.
Now I do have we need to fill some time. I've got some sign carvers of the day I can go over. What do you think?
We'll see what happens.
Yeah, just see what we've got. Anyway, I really like this, the advent of adding the appliques to routed signs. I just think it could add a lot of really cool things. All right.
Let's see. Gotta scroll.
I'm back.
So we're down to about 15 minutes, the way I see it.
All right.
Time sure goes by fast when we're doing this.
Yeah.
We've got folks, John Wheeler, I believe John's in England. Jerry's in Texas. Dana's in New York.
Cool. Well, thank you for spending some of your Saturday morning with us, folks. We sure appreciate it.
Danny's in Chicago. Frank Jenkins in Texas.
Yeah. Hi, Frank. Happy Memorial Day, everyone.
Sean in Houston. Oh, Gene Goss, who's right down the street. Danny from Iowa. Phil from Oregon. I'm just kind of Diana, excuse me, from Australia.
Yeah.
Kevin, North
We
Carolina.
seem to have a few new people.
Darren from Iowa.
Mhm.
I think I said him already. Let's
Yeah.
see. I'm looking for questions. Well, we got Atticus from Surprise, Arizona. Morris from Washington. Brent from Canada.
You know what I was gonna do? I
Sean
don't know.
says, watching from my son's Taekwondo belt testing. Larry from Illinois. Zach. Sorry, I'm gonna sneeze.
Yeah, there's a little sawdust in here.
So we're still waiting for questions.
Well,
Yeah.
I'm scrolling through, so bear
Okay.
with me. We got JB from Alabama.
One thing I was gonna do that I could. You want me to color with a Sharpie? Color that.
Let's wait, see if we have time.
It's really easy to though, guys, to color with the Sharpies. The way I did that.
JC from Canada.
JC.
And if you get the big heavy-duty Sharpie, you can get them with a wedge point on it. It's almost like a flat for covering larger areas. So there's different kinds.
New York.
The Sharpies are
Philip from
really
West
great,
Virginia.
but they're different sizes.
Gary,
And the
North
bigger
Carolina.
Sharpies have the wedge edge on them
Alright, come on, I know.
rather than a pointed edge.
Chris from North Carolina.
I think they call that chisel.
Chisel point, yeah.
Chisel point,
Yeah.
I think is what they call it. I like the chisel points, yeah.
Yeah, for large areas, chisel point's much better than the point.
Have you ever tried the flame effect coloring on a router sign with inset letters?
Yes.
Yes, as a matter of fact, we
That's
have.
from Sean Leonard.
You can do it. It's fairly easy to do. You have to be a little careful when you're after you get the letters red. Then you sand them off. Then you do the yellow on the top and sand it off. Have to be a little careful with what you're doing, but it's a fairly simple
I used to
thing
do I used to do it out at Oatman quite a bit. In fact, on my Instagram channel, Make a Wood Sign, there's a picture of my daughter holding one that I did for hot rodders where it said, I can't remember, it said like Vicky's Mustang or something, and then it had some flames at both ends, and I've done them a couple different ways, yellow and red, where one kind of faded into the other, and then the other one that looked even cooler, I thought, was black and blue. I would take the black ink and the blue ink, and I would fade the blue right into the black, and it really looked cool.
And I've done them even with rainbow colors, where I use 4 colors on a letter that's arched with inset letters, and just hit one spray of each color and make a rainbow effect. So yeah, the answer is yes, you
That
can
was
do
the
it,
long version.
and it's fairly easy to do, and it looks great.
Atticus says hot melt glue is available in low temp and high temp sticks. High temp works better in an exterior application.
That's good.
Well,
to know.
that's true. That's good for people to know that don't know about hot glue. You have two temperature settings. You can get a high temp or low temp, and just depend on your application as whether you want to use it. So, I use a generic. I don't use too much. I don't do too much with hot glue because I use liquid nails. I use hot glue to hold the letter in place after I've got the liquid nails on it, just until the liquid nails cures, like I said before, then they don't come off.
Okay, this one I'm going to answer.
Okay, good.
Tobias says, do you sell templates in sets? Yes, we do. They are on the makeawoodsign.com website. But there's 10 in a pack for $25. If you buy them individually, they are $3.50. But if you buy 10 individual templates, you will get them for the price of a template set. So it doesn't have to be one of the sets that
Now
we have
you
on
could
the
buy
website.
10 flags and still get it as a set of the same price as a
Right.
set of different
As long as if you buy 10, you will get it for $25 instead of $35.
Yeah, so $2.50.
Hope that
apiece.
answers your question, Toby. A couple of people have said that a yellow would highlight the flames on the red or whatever too. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
Do you have any knowledge of how successful a person in the humidity of the upper Midwest would be trying to dry a piece of wood from? would be trying to dry a piece of wood from, say, 14 to 6.
Yeah, you want to try and give yourself as big a chance as possible to overcome the humidity.
That's
So
daring.
a lot of people have basements that they try and kind of temperature control. There's two things that dry out the board. Number one is warmth or sunshine if you have it. If you don't, then try and keep your temperature warm. And the other is air movement. So if you, for instance, you're in the upper Midwest a lot, or down in the South have a lot of humidity, you could either build a box and have air flowing. The main thing is make sure you have stickers in between your boards, like you've seen on our videos with drying the cedar. Because my son was having issues with this too. Keep air moving on that. Here, the breeze is always blowing, but if you don't have that situation, get a little box fan or something and have air blowing on it as
And
well.
you make a little rack to go over whatever lumber, and if you need to, just throw a piece of plastic over it. You can buy the plastic at Lowe's or any Home Depot. Throw a piece of plastic over it. Put a little incandescent lamp in there if you need heat, and then just a small fan and have it blow in the air. That'll dry your boards out pretty quick.
Okay, Roy Smith says, Eric, you mentioned that 6% or less for moisture content. I think I found my issue.
Oh, might be. Yeah, this one was kind of weird how it was. The board will dry out different places different ways. So it was definitely, I think it was 16 down in the middle of this board where that hard grain was, but out on the edge it was a lot drier. So yeah, you definitely want to dry these boards out if you can.
Good morning, Zach.
Morning, Andy.
Okay, so Frank Jenkins says, Dave, it's always good to see and hear from you.
Well, thanks, Frank. It's always good to be here when you consider the alternative.
Okay, Zach also says, let us not forget that one that gave all for our freedom. Absolutely. Veterans
Memorial
Day.
Day. Yep, absolutely.
All right, putting you on the spot here. Dave Kern says, hey, how about more memory lane?
Yeah, my super son keeps telling me about that. I procrastinate. I get a sign out and I think about it, and then comes time to film it, I got something else to do. But I'll make an honest effort to try to get more memory lanes.
We'll keep on him.
Dave@davesigns.com is the email.
For those that want to remind him daily, yes. Okay. Frank Jenkins says, how do you decide to cut detailed lines inset or versus outset?
It just becomes, Frank, it becomes just kind of being able to see it in your mind's eye, but sometimes I'm wrong. I'm more often than not, I'm right these days, but early on, I would just have to practice, and if I had some special piece of artwork, I literally would carve it both ways on a piece of practice. Number one, it's good practice if you're carving something brand new for the first time to practice before you're doing it on your customer's sign. And number two, it gives you an option to do it both ways. Sometimes it looks better inset, sometimes it looks better outset. So I wish I could tell you other than just kind of experience of doing it. But one thing, kind of a philosophy that I have adopted is if you're carving a piece of artwork and it's black and white, generally speaking these days, my general rule is if it's black on the artwork that you're looking at, then I carve that away because that's the way they made the artwork. Whoever it was that made the artwork, they thought it looked better that way. Chances are it will look better that way if it's carved. As a general rule, that's not 100%, but as a general rule, if it's black, I carve it away.
Okay, Larry Scudder asks, have you talked about doing American Freedom layout set? Flags, Statue of Liberty, Uncle Sam, just a thought. Okay, guys, I'm calling on you viewers here. I have several sets that I have made and are ready to go.
That not being one of them.
That not being one of them, but I do
Yeah.
have other ones, and we are going to introduce a new one on Monday.
Yeah, Monday or Wednesday.
But yes, I will work on that and see what I can do. Michael Shirley says, which bit you recommend for durability and length of use, the SC50 or a profile bit?
Profile, 100% profile. The SC50 only has one flute, and it doesn't cut near as, and you know, don't take my word on it. Ask anybody that has a profile bit and an SC50. An SC50 is great for super fine detail, like the flames on that barbecue, but a profile bit cuts 100% better than an SC50.
And lasts a lot longer.
Lasts a lot longer, and you can go deeper. With SC50, if I tried to go too deep, it would snap that tip off. With a profile bit, you could bury that thing at 3/8 of an inch.
This kind of goes along with that. Danny Lawrence says, how deep did you carve the barbecue using the SC50?
I was maybe
About 316, about 110 thousandths.
Okay. Pete. Pete. Yeah, Pete. I think it's Pete. It says, hi, where are all your wood chips go? Where all your wood chips go when you're routing? Because I don't see any. Well,
yeah, I completely inhale when I'm cutting. You guys can't tell, so I'm the actual vacuum. I'm sucking all those in. So I got them right here for you.
Yeah, there's on the floor, which we clean up regularly. Your son, Ryan, says,
We have a dust collection system. It's called a broom and a dustpan.
yeah, and a grandson who does it for you.
Yeah.
Ryan, your son, says,
Yes.
what's up, guys? Can't wait to carve with you next weekend.
We'll see you next week.
We're getting the motorhome ready, son, so hopefully if everything works out right, we'll be bringing the motorhome and a whole bunch of stuff. Thanks for
Gary
tuning in.
Zellner says 10 individual templates can be stated as a quantity discount price instead of a set. Well, we just call it a set, just simply paperwork.
Yeah.
Wow. John Wheeler, who's in England, he said, Vicky, my bits are in England already. And we just sent those Thursday.
Wow.
That's awesome. Good
DHL.
job.
DHL,
Yeah,
baby.
You might mention that we don't ship out of state, out of country stuff by priority mail anymore.
No.
We use DHL.
Yeah.
They get it, sometimes they get it to Canada in 3 or 4 days.
Yeah,
It's
or less.
amazing.
Or less.
Yeah,
Yeah,
they're-
Canada's like next day.
DHL has
amazing.
been getting stuff overseas or up north to Canada faster than somebody ordering in Massachusetts.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're getting it there faster.
Faster.
Than domestic
Yeah.
stuff.
Where
It's
US
amazing.
It costs a little
USPS
bit more, but it's worth it.
Oh.
USPS International is
Oh.
like,
It's a crapshoot.
it could be 2 weeks, it could be 2 months.
Could be
Ask
3,
Brad.
yeah, it could be
Yeah.
2 months.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. James Raymond Sr. Does sanding sealer hold the moisture in?
Sanding sealer. No. No. The only time I ever use sanding sealer, remember, I don't use sanding sealer on cedar at all. I use sanding sealer only on pine or something like pine. And that stuff is already dry by the time I make a sign with it. When I buy it, I buy the select pine, and it doesn't have any moisture. It's down like around 1 or 2%.
We
So
use
sanding sealer. Yeah.
Sanding sealer is used for what? Just to keep it.
No, sanding sealer is used. Thank you. Sanding sealer is used on pine just so that the ink or the black spray, whether it's a Rust-Oleum or the ink, doesn't bleed into the grain of the board. That's not an issue with cedar. It's only an issue for me. It's only an issue with pine.
Because
So-
if it bleeds in, you can't sand it out.
Yeah.
So you always have those black marks on your sign.
Frank Jenkins says, I like the technique you used on the body of the barbecue pit. I have a barrel racer to do, and I think I'll use the same technique on the artwork.
Oh, you're welcome.
Gosh, we have people that are out camping. The Nasbys are out camping, and they're watching.
And they're watching.
Yeah.
Wow, that's so cool.
Dennis Andrews says, do you wear a mask when your sawdust is flying?
Yeah, only when I'm routing and robbing a bank at the same time. Then I'll put my mask on. But other than that, no, we don't wear masks. Sometimes I will say I don't ever wear masks, so sometimes I do. If I'm doing a big sign and I'm doing a lot of clean out, a lot of background, and literally there's just tons of sawdust, I will wear a mask.
Well, and I've been carving for 50 years, and I've never worn a mask.
Yeah.
But I used to have a good friend that carved, and if he tried to carve a sign without a mask, he would get really choked up. So if people are allergic to it or if they have problems with it, wear the mask. It doesn't hurt to have a little respirator on. But if you're like us, you don't need it, don't use it.
I have 2 more questions in 1 minute, so make them quick.
Uh-oh.
How many normal signs does the profile bit stay sharp? Mine is burring pretty bad. That's your son.
Okay, that's
Normal signs is a 6x24.
Yeah. Generally speaking, 20 to 40. Just depends on how many letters, how tough the grain. Like this was soft and hard and soft, so you know that kind of takes its toll on a bit. So it's all just kind of general rule, but somewhere between 20 and 40.
Okay. Last name is Ayala. I have Cefe, C-E-F-E, Ayala.
Oh yeah.
About to carve out a Live to Ride sign. What do you charge for a completed sign?
The Live to Ride sign, I get like $90 for it before shipping, and that's for the top part and the little ribbon that goes down below. I make them in a set.
With a name or a saying on the ribbon down below.
I get somewhere around $90 for the set.
All right, we got to wrap it up.
All right. I guess that's it.
That was a fast hour.
It always goes fast. It always goes. So here's the deal. So hopefully, if everything works out right, by the end of the weekend, hopefully, this will be posted on YouTube. It's on Facebook now. We'll post it on Facebook. I apologize in advance if I don't answer all of your stuff on the actual Facebook, because we get lots and lots of them, but I'll do everything that I can. I look at all of them, but sometimes when there's hundreds of them, I just don't have the time to answer all of them, but I definitely answer all of the comments, questions. My email, eric@makeawwoodsign.com. If you send me email, I absolutely answer all of those without a doubt within a short period of time, and then the comments on the YouTube channel. So I guess that's about it.
I try to answer my emails. I don't get them all answered, but I try to answer what I can on them.
Okay, guys.
All right. If you have questions for us, Vicky with Dave Signs at gmail.com, Eric at makerwoodsign.com, and Dave at davesigns.com. Send us emails if you have questions, anything that we can do for you.
Have a great weekend.
Yeah, happy Memorial Day.
Thank you to all of our veterans.
Thank you to all of our
veterans and anybody that's in the service or has been in the service.
Yeah.
We salute you.
Absolutely.
Yes. Stay safe. All right, everybody.
Okay, guys. We'll see you on Monday morning for Coffee and Questions.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.